Hi everyone, thank you for joining me for today's Vinyasa flow class. Let's start today on our knees in hero pose. If this isn't comfortable for you or if you have tight knees, then you can go ahead and place a blanket between your sit bones and your feet or something, or anything you've got around you, maybe a cushion. Kind of helps to take some of the pressure off of your knees. And when you've arrived here, you're going to sit nice and tall. Place your hands either palms down on your knees or palms facing up. Palms down is a nice grounding way to help connect you and ground down. Palms open for receiving. There's something that you're looking for, maybe some energy, some lightness. Decide what you need today for our practice. Sitting with our eyes closed, start to notice your breath. Maybe you can feel it in the back of your throat. Bring your attention to the rise and fall of your chest. As you exhale, you might feel your breath passing through your nostrils over your top lip. Take a couple more moments here if you'd like to set an intention for today's practice. Maybe someone you know needs some good energy sent their way. Thinking of them during today's practice. Let's start to deepen our breath. Bringing awareness to our body. Slowly start to open your eyes. Let's start with some shoulder rolls. So inhale, lift those shoulders up towards your ears. Exhale, roll them down and back. Inhale again, shoulders up towards your ears. Exhale, down and back. One more time. Inhaling those shoulders up towards your ears. Exhaling, down the back. Now we're going to come into a wide-legged child's pose. So let's open our knees as wide as the mat. Bring those toes together. Push the sit bones back towards your heels. Bring the hands out in front of us. Placing your forehead on the mat. Maybe using your fingers to push into the mat. Pushing those sit bones back just a little bit further. This wide-legged child's pose is a little bit more active than we usually do. Often we use it as a resting pose, but by pushing our hands into the mat, pushing our sit bones back, we're engaging our arms. Now let's bring our fingertips and create cones. We've got our head on the mat. By creating cones with our fingertips, walking them forward a little bit, see if you can feel that stretch in your upper body. Opening up your back just a little bit here. Feeling those shoulder blades open. Now let's release those fingertips. Slowly walk out towards the right side. So we walk our hands out as far as we're comfortable with, opening up that left side and the ribs there. And as we breathe, feeling the space in our left ribs opening. Opening that underarm. Stretching out that left upper arm. And we'll walk our hands out towards the left side. Same thing, opening up the right rib cage, the right side of the body here. Creating space. Walking those hands to a place where you feel a gentle stretch. Now let's come to center, resting our forehead on the mat again one more time. This time relaxing the arms, just letting that body rest while you're here. Now we're going to rise up very slowly. Let's plant those forearms onto the mat. And we're actually going to put our legs out behind us, coming onto our belly. We're going to come into a Sphinx pose here. So elbows, forearms are on the mat, fingers are spread wide, pushing all edges of your hands into the mat. Glutes are engaged. We're slowly lifting that chest. Opening the front of those hips. Small stretch in our lower spine. Let's slowly start to lower down to the mat. Walking those hands out. Reach the arms out nice and long in front of you. Just place your forehead on the mat for a moment. Releasing your spine. Now we'll make our way into a tabletop pose. So place those hands below your chest if you'd like. Push your way up. Checking your alignment. Wrists are below shoulders, knees are below hips. Spine is flat. Gently gazing down at the mat in front of us. Engage our core slightly while we're here. Now let's flow into some cat and cows. So we'll inhale, drop the belly, lift the tailbone. Lift that chest and chin. Exhale, push into the mat with those hands. Curve the spine, tuck the tailbone. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the tailbone, moving with your own breath. Maybe taking any other movements that feel good for your body this morning. Maybe wiggling those hips, looking out over your shoulder, happy puppy. Maybe you just move those arms and the spine, any way that feels good for you. And we're going to take that right arm, sweep it up and open. Reaching nice and long towards the ceiling. Exhale, let's tuck it under that left arm, threading the needle. Walk those left fingers forward. If you'd like, you can take your left hand and bring it around behind your spine, grabbing a hold of your right hip. Otherwise, we'll keep it out nice and stretched, long out in front of you. Focusing on our breath here. Maybe you've started your Ujjayi breath if that's something in your practice. Unthread that right hand. Coming back into a neutral tabletop for a moment here. Let's sweep that left hand up and open, stretching out our body, waking things up. Sweep it down and under your right arm. Walking those right fingertips forward, or again, bringing your right arm behind you, interlacing for a bind. Breathe into those muscles that are opening. Never going in a place of pain or discomfort. Feeling that breath on the back of your throat. So walk those right fingertips back in, coming into a neutral tabletop position here. Now we're going to take the right arm, reach it out nice and long in front of us, and then we'll shoot that left leg out as well, nice and long, foot's flexed. Imagine that you're pushing into a wall behind you with your foot, and that someone's equally pulling onto your fingers. A nice big long stretch. Now we're going to bring that right elbow and left knee and tap them together. Stretch them again, nice and long. And again, let's bring them together and tap them. Inhale, nice and long. Exhale, tap them together. Inhale, nice and long. Now we're going to bend that left knee, sweep that right arm around behind us. Grab a hold of the top of that left foot if you can. And then we'll push into that left foot. Opening up that front right shoulder just a little bit. Slowly bring that left heel in towards your buttocks. Release your hand, bringing it back down to the mat. Giving everything a bit of a wiggle. Let's stretch that left hand out nice and long in front of us. Shoot the right leg out. Straight behind us again. That right foot pushing in an imaginary wall. Foot's flexed. You're really pushing into that wall. Someone's pulling on those left hands. Big long stretch. Then let's bring that left elbow, right knee tap. Inhale nice and long. Exhale, bring it together and tap it. Inhale nice and long. Exhale, tap together. Inhale again, nice and long. Exhale, let's bend that right knee. Sweep the left hand behind, grabbing a hold of the top of that foot. Pushing into that foot as you open up, looking out over to the left side. Maybe we're smiling here. One last breath. Slowly release. Now we're going to walk our hands forward down the mat. Fingertips are spread wide. Now, almost like a downward facing dog, except that our knees are on the mat. Fingertips are spread wide, index fingers pointing forward. Start to push into those hands, lifting the tailbone, same as you would in downward facing dog. Drop that head, looking down at your mat, maybe looking down towards your knees. Starting to open those hip flexors. Breathing here, maybe your Ujjayi breath. Let's come into child's pose. Bring those knees together. Sit those sit bones back on your heels. Hands can be either in front of you or down by your sides. Down by our sides is a slightly more restorative, relaxing, nurturing version of child's pose. We're going to slowly start to rise up, walking those hands out in front of us. We're going to come into downward facing dog now. So we'll tuck those toes, again, spreading those fingers wide, index finger pointing forward, lifting those sit bones up towards the ceiling. Let's walk our legs out, really stretching out the back of our thighs here. Keeping those knees bent just a little bit. Let's shake our head no here. Slowly. Looking forward between your hands, let's walk our feet to the front of the mat. We're going to be here in a forward fold for a moment. Let's bring our feet about shoulder width apart, grabbing a hold of our elbows. Letting the weight of your upper body pull you a little bit further forward, keeping those knees bent slightly. We'll start to sway side to side, right, left, letting your body move as it feels it needs to. We'll slowly release those elbows. Let's heel to our feet. About as wide as the mat. Point those toes outwards. We're going to sit down into Malasana. So we're in a squat here. Placing our hands together, pressing those palms, using those elbows, the inside of your thighs, opening them up just a little bit more. Place the right hand down by that right foot. Sweep that left hand open, opening up towards the left side. Coming back down. Let's place the left hand now on the mat. By that left foot, sweep the right hand up. Breathing here. Connecting with your breath. Bringing that right hand back down. We'll start to forward fold as we heel toe those feet back to about hip width. Very slowly rising up. Let's bring our hands to our heart center. Closing our eyes for a moment. Find some stillness in your movements, in your breath. We're going to open our eyes, inhale our arms up and overhead. Using your right fingertips, grab a hold of your left wrist, pulling it out towards the right side. As we look out under that left arm. Inhale, reaching those arms nice and long overhead. Exhale, grab a hold of the right wrist with your left fingertips, giving it a nice gentle pull. Looking out under that left arm. Inhale, nice and tall. Exhale, that's release our hands by our sides, giving everything a small little shake. Bring those big toes together. We're at the top of the mat. Then let's inhale our arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let's place those hands down on the mat and we'll step back to high plank. Holding here for a moment. Core is engaged. Breathing as we hold here, not holding our breath. On our next exhale, you can lower knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga, ensuring that you keep those elbows nice and tucked. Inhale, baby cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, let's push back to downward facing dog. 5 breaths here, really focusing on that breathing. Pushing into all edges of your hands, all of those fingers equally pressed down into the mat. 2 more breaths. Let's look forward between our hands, step our right foot forward, our left to meet our right. Forward fold. Inhale, rise up, bringing those arms up and overhead, palms together and pulling them down to your center line. And again, let's inhale those arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, place the hands down to the mat again. Step back, high plank. Again, we're gonna hold here in plank. 3 breaths. Core is engaged. Pushing those heels out. Last exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Again, 5 breaths here. Continue to come back to that breath. Let's look forward between our hands. This time we'll step our left foot forward, our right to meet our left. Forward fold. Inhale, rise up. Arms up and overhead, palms together and down the center. Again, inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Stepping back to high plank. Holding here again. 3 breaths. Looking down at the mat, not straining your neck. Next exhale, lower chaturanga, tucking those elbows. And exhale, downward facing dog. Again, 5 breaths here. If at any point you need to, you can always come down to child's pose. Take a moment of rest. 2 more breaths here. Looking forward between our hands, let's step our right foot forward. Our left to meet our right, forward fold. Inhale, rise up. Pressing those palms together, bringing them down your center line. And again, inhale those arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, back to high plank. Holding here. 2 more breaths. You've got this. Next exhale, lower chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Three more breaths here. You've got this. Looking forward between your hands, let's step the left foot forward, the right to meet the left, forward fold. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, palms down your center line. This time, we're going to inhale our arms up and overhead. And then the exhale, we're going to keep looking up the ceiling. Bring those hands down. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Gently pulling those hands down as we lift our chest towards the ceiling for a gentle back bend. Pulling those arms down your spine. Glutes are engaged. Protecting that lower back. Let's bend those knees slightly, keeping those fingers interlaced, or possibly you're holding onto one of your wrists if your fingers don't reach very well. Let's start to fold forward, bending those knees, still binding behind our back. Let's fold those arms up and over, lifting the arms up above our head. Knees are slightly bent, folding forward. Slowly release those fingers. Let's inhale, coming into chair pose. Arms sweep up and overhead. We're sitting on an imaginary ledge. Look down, see if you can see those toes. That means that you're sitting far enough back on your ledge. Exhale, forward fold, placing the hands to the mat. Let's step back to high plank. Last hold in our plank here, 3 breaths. You've got this. Next exhale, tuck those elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths here. Let's look forward between our hands. This time we're going to step the right foot forward, place it between our hands, coming into a runner's lunge. So we're looking forward, almost as though we are about to push off in a race. Then let's start to rock ourselves backwards, straightening that front leg, right leg, but without locking the knee. Coming back forward to runner's lunge. We're going to start to rock back and forth. This time holding and pausing with that front right leg straight, small bend in that knee. Fold your forehead in towards that right shin. And then let's come back to downward facing dog. Right foot comes back, breathing here. This time we'll step the left foot forward, runner's lunge. So we're on those tippy toes on the right foot. We're about to push off in a race. Looking forward, soft gaze. Let's start to rock back and forth gently. And coming to rest, folded over that left front leg, still keeping a bend in that knee. One more breath here. And then we'll come back to downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Maybe wiggling those hips out a little bit. Let's inhale that right leg up nice and long, big stretch. Keeping those hips squared, we'll bring the right foot forward, place it between the hands. We'll drop that left knee, we're coming into a low lunge. Untuck those left toes. Rising up, sweep those arms up overhead. You can take your hands, place them to your hips for a moment if you need to. Check that your hips are square to the front of the mat. Shoulders are away from the ears. So bring the hands down to the mat, either side of that right foot. Tuck those left toes. Push back, downward facing dog. Coming back to our breath here in downward facing dog. We'll inhale that left leg nice and long, three-legged dog. Hips are squared. Look forward between your hands. Step that left foot forward, coming to low lunge. Right knee comes down to the mat. We untuck those right toes. Sweep those arms up and overhead. Bringing them to your hips if you need to. Really feeling those right hip flexors starting to open. Hands come back down to the mat, placing it either side of that left foot. Let's push back. Downward facing dog. Coming to our breath here again. 5 breaths. I'm going to inhale that right leg again. Three-legged dog, hips still square. Let's bring it forward. Place it between your hands. Low lunge again, untucking those toes. Let's rise up. From here, let's place those hands either side of that right foot. Tuck those left toes. Let's push up into high lunge. Checking your shoulders away from your ears. Pushing into all 4 sides of your right foot. Looking down, checking that you can see those right toes, your knees not falling inwards. We're going to come into a twist now, so let's take our left hand placed on the inside of that right foot. Sweep the right arm up towards the sky. Looking out over to the right side of the space you're in. Both of your legs are engaged. One more breath here. Placing that right hand back down to the mat. Let's push back, downward facing dog. Noticing the difference in your right and left hip now. Sweep that left hip up, three-legged dog, left leg up, sorry, three-legged dog, nice and long. Bring it forward, place it between your hands. Lower that right knee down to the mat. Let's untuck those right toes. Low lunge. Smiling here. Place your hands down either side of that left foot. Tuck the toes, rise up, high lunge. Continuing to breathe here. Smiling. Let's come into our twist. Right hand down to the mat, inside of that left foot. Left hand sweeps up and open. Opening up towards the left side of the space you're in. Gaze out towards the side, or if you can look up to the ceiling without straining your neck, wherever your body needs. Bring that left hand down towards the mat, pushing back. Downward facing dog. Let's come into wide-legged child's pose. So knees are as wide as the mat. Pushing those tailbones back, feet are untucked. Resting that forehead on the mat. Breathing here, slowing your breath. When you're ready, we'll come back to downward facing dog. Fingers are spread wide, pushing into the mat. Untuck those toes. Lifting that tailbone. Inhale your right leg up, nice and long, hips are still square, bring it forward. Place it between your hands. We're coming up into warrior two. So let's rotate that back foot, 90 degrees. Windmill those arms open, check that right heel is in line with the instep of your left foot. Looking out over those right fingertips. Breathing here. Soft gaze over those right fingertips. The exhale, let's take that left hand, slide it down on your back, your left thigh. Sweep the right arm up and overhead, reversing our warrior. Looking up towards the ceiling or the sky, depending where you're practicing today. Let's exhale, bring that right forearm to your right thigh, just letting it rest there, not putting any weight. Left hand sweeps up and over, extending, really reaching with those left fingertips. Coming back, warrior two. Looking out over those fingertips, let's straighten that front right leg. Shimmy that left hip out towards the back of the space, really reaching forward with those right fingertips. They sweep down to the inside of your right calf. Left arm comes up and open. Triangle pose. Imagine that you're being pressed between two planes of glass. So while we're here, really opening that chest. Let's rise up. Warrior two for a moment. One breath there, then let's straighten that right leg again. Rotate both of your feet so they're facing on an angle towards the corners of your mat. And then we're going to bend those knees, coming into a squat. Palms pressed together towards the right side. Let's shift our weight to the left. Straightening up, coming into a forward fold. Letting that head hang down. Let's shake our head left and right now. Again, twisting that neck out a little bit. Letting the weight of your head pull you forward. See if you can shift your weight a little bit further forward. Maybe you can walk your hands out behind you. Let's bring our hands to our hips, hinging at our hips as we rise up. Looking forward towards the front of the mat, let's rotate our feet, placing our hands either side of that right foot. Let's step back to a high plank. Pausing here again, holding that for 3 breaths. Tucking those elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths here. Focusing on having your inhales and exhales the same amount of time if you can. Inhale that left leg up, nice and long, 3-legged dog, keeping those hips squared. Let's bring that left foot forward between our hands, coming into warrior two. Checking our alignment here. Look down, see if you can see that left big toe. Arms are reaching equally forwards and backwards, not too far in either direction. Soft gaze out over those left fingers. Strong legs. Let's take that right hand, shoot it down the back of your right thigh, sweep the left hand up and overhead, opening that left side. Chest is towards the ceiling, gazing upwards without straining our neck. Let's come forward, left forearm, left thigh, right arm, up and over. Continuing to breathe. One more breath here. Let's come back up. Warrior two for a breath. Straighten that front left leg. Shimmy the right hip out towards the back of your space. Let's bring that left hand to the inside of your left thigh. Right arm up and open. Triangle pose. Gaze out to the side or up towards the ceiling. Maybe we're smiling. Let's rise up. Warrior two for a moment. And we'll straighten those legs again. Rotate those feet. Both sets of toes are pointing to the corners of our mat. Bend those knees. Falling out to the right side again. Lift those left toes. Rotating to the left side. Lifting those right toes. Maybe your knees are crinkling like mine are. Let's rise up again, forward fold. Feet are straight now towards the front of the mat. Maybe you'd like to grab a hold of these toes, your big toes, with your index and middle finger. Maybe you'd like to walk your hands back. Two more breaths here. See if you can fold just a little bit further forward. Very slowly, hands to the hips. Let's hinge upwards to standing. Rotate those feet to the front of the mat. Place the hands either side of that right foot. Stepping back to high plank, you can head straight to downward facing dog, or hold this plank pose with me here. Then we'll lower for chaturanga, tucking those elbows. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths here. Let's inhale that right leg, nice and long reaching, hips are still square. Then now we're gonna bend that right knee, bring it forward, tap it to the right elbow. Shoot it back up, nice and long, three-legged dog. Bring that right knee, tap it to your left elbow. Nice and long, three-legged dog. Let's bring that right knee, tap it towards your chin. Inhale up, nice and long, three-legged dog. Let's bring that right foot forward, place it between your hands. We're gonna rise up to warrior one. Small step in with that back left foot. And rise up. Sweeping those arms up and overhead. Checking that your heels are in line. Looking forward. Place those hands either side of your right foot. Stepping back into high plank. You can head straight to downward facing dog. Holding here, one more breath. Tuck those elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Breathing here, 2 more breaths. Now let's inhale that left leg up, nice and long, three-legged dog, hips are squared. Nice big stretch, then bring that left knee, tap it to the left elbow, stretching it up again, nice and long, three-legged dog. Left knee to right elbow. Again, nice and long, three-legged dog. Left knee to your chin. Again, three-legged dog. Let's bring it forward, place it between your hands. Warrior one, small step back with that right foot. Rise up. You've got this. A few more breaths here. Exhale, place our hands either side of that left foot. Stepping back to high plank. You can head straight to downward facing dog or holding plank here. Last plank hold. Exhale, tuck those elbows. Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Looking forward between your hands, let's step that left foot forward. Right to meet the left. Forward fold. So here in this forward fold, you've got the option, again with your fingers, to grab onto your big toes, giving a small bend in those knees, really using your arms to pull on those toes, pulling your upper body forward, your head further to the floor. You can straighten your legs as much or as little as you like. 2 more breaths here. Let's slowly release. Now this time we're going to place our hands below our feet. So bottom of the hand goes to the bottom of the foot. So now we're stepping on those hands, using that. If that's not accessible to you, then you can go back to holding on to your toes, or just maybe grabbing a hold of your elbows, any way that feels good for your body today. Let's release those hands, taking your feet off them, placing them back down to the mat. We're very, very slowly going to rise up. We won't bring our hands overhead this time. Coming to standing pose at the top of our mat. Give our legs a bit of a shake. Now we're going to really ground down into that left foot, coming into a balancing pose. So left foot is gripping into the mat. We're going to bring that right knee up. Let's give it a nice big hug. We're standing tall, really pulling that knee in towards you. Now if you'd like, you have the option, bend that right knee, grab a hold of those toes again with your middle and pointer finger. And then you can see if you can straighten this pose. Find a focal point, something that's not moving first. Maybe this is your pose for today. Maybe you'd like to see if you can straighten that leg at all. If you are straightening your leg, make sure that you're not having your hand pull your upper body forward. You want to be standing nice and tall, however you go in this pose. Imagine you've got a string pulling the top of your head there. Let's bring that leg back in when you're ready. And we're going to shoot it out behind us for warrior 3. Let's bring our palms together. Hips are squared. Using your hands if you need to. Back foot is flexed. You're pushing into that imaginary wall again. If at any time you fall out of these poses, just start again. Rising up, bring that right foot back down to the mat. Let's give our legs a shake. Switching sides, really gripping into the mat with all edges of your right foot. Those right toes are really gripping in. Bend that left knee, bring it in. Give it a nice big hug. We love our legs. Standing nice and tall again. If you'd like, let's grab a hold of our toes with our left hand. Standing tall. Straighten that left leg to a place that's comfortable for you. Being playful with the pose. Notice your thoughts. You're not passing any judgment on yourself. Whenever you're ready, we'll bring that knee back in, shooting it out behind us. Warrior 3. Hips are squared. And then we'll bring those palms together. Let's slowly rise back up. Lowering that leg down to the mat. Giving those legs a shake. Inhale those arms nice and tall above us. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Let's just step straight back to high plank. One moment here. We'll lower to our belly. Releasing one of our cheeks down to the mat, maybe the right cheek. Arms by your side or out in front of you. If you do have your arms by your side, let's go ahead and bring them in front of you. We're going to come into Superman pose. So with our core engaged, our glutes engaged, on the inhale, we're going to lift our arms and our feet at the same time. Looking forward, breathing while we hold here. One more breath, see if you can take it a little bit higher. Exhale, lower back down to the mat. Left cheek comes down to the mat this time. Now we're going to roll onto our back. So let's roll however you'd like onto your back. Bending our knees. Soles of the feet are pressed into the mat. You walk them in to about your fingers, hips. So we're going to come into bridge pose. So you want your legs about hip width apart. We're going to slowly start to lift those hips, traction your knees forward as we go. See if you can come on up to your shoulders. Maybe you can interlace your fingers behind your back. All the while lifting with those hips. Feet are pushed into the mat. Imagine you've got a block, keeping those legs closed. Not letting your knees fall out towards the side. One more breath here. See if you can lift just a little bit higher. Coming up those shoulders if you're there, and very slowly, one vertebrae at a time, lowering back down to the mat. Let's let our knees fall side to side like windshield wipers. We're going to come into bridge one more time. Or if wheel is in your practice, then please feel free to take that pose. So when you're ready, you're all set up. Inhale, rising up. Always being mindful of the positioning for these poses, not overstretching your back. You don't want to pinch anything. When you're ready, slowly releasing down to the mat, coming off those shoulders. This time we're going to give our knees a hug in towards our body. Gentle rock side to side. Then we'll come into happy baby. So you can either sweep your arms inside the inside of your thighs and your legs. Soles of the feet are facing upwards, grabbing a hold of the soles. Maybe you'd like to reach outside your arms. Whichever feels right for your body. Helping to counter that lower back stretch that we just did. Go ahead and push one foot at a time towards the ceiling. Rocking that spine out. Stretching those legs out nice and long. We're going to take our hands, placing them below your buttocks. We're going to come up into fish pose, so moving gently here. Coming up onto our elbows here. Your palms are pushing into the mat underneath your buttocks. Start to tip your head back, letting your head fall. And if you'd like, you can bring the top of your head down to the mat. Just really opening up that neck. Being sure that you're not pinching anything. Maybe let's take a big exhale, sticking out your tongue. Very slowly, coming out of this pose. Let's shake our head side to side gently while we're on the mat here. Into a gentle spinal twist. Let's bring those knees in towards your body, letting them fall out towards the right side. You can keep those knees stacked, or if you'd like, you can take that left foot, hooking it under that right knee for a slightly deeper twist. Arms out to the sides, looking out over that left shoulder. Just letting your body release slowly. Let's unhook that left foot, bringing it back to center, letting those legs drop out to the left side. Hooking that right foot over if you'd like. Looking out over that right shoulder. Maybe you're closing your eyes as we come close to Shavasana. Let's bring those legs back in. One more hug. And then we'll shoot them out nice and long. Feet are about as wide as the mat. Let your feet fall out to the sides. Arms are down by your sides. Palms facing upwards. Let your body really start to sink into the mat here. Relax your shoulders. Relax your jaw. Relax your forehead. Let's start to wiggle our fingers and toes. Maybe you deepen your breath. Leave like a big stretch, arms overhead. Whenever you're ready, you can roll onto your side and come to a comfortable seated position, soft gaze, or keeping your eyes closed if you'd like. When you're here, we'll bring our palms together by our heart center. Thanking you for joining me for today's practice. Thank yourselves for making time for yourself. Namaste. Hope you'll all join me again next week for our practice. Thank you.